Well, I think Hollywood in the past has given us images of the war, especially the Civil War, as if it was fought by primarily middle-aged men. Did you ever sometimes get that impression that our impression is of soldiers older than they were? Because Matthew Broderick, your character, was only, what, 25?
25, and the space of time this movie covers, he goes from, I think, 24 or 23 to 26.
And not at all uncommon for him to be in command of teenagers.
Yeah, not at all.
Yeah.
It's strange because in this movie, there's a lot of concern at the studio because of people thinking that I'm too young for the part. Audiences see it and say that they think I'm trying to play somebody older than I am.
Or maybe that you should be some sort of a firebrand out there with blood and lust in your eye and all of that. And you're not that kind of character at all.
No, I don't think Shaw was.
In fact, what about him? I know an actor researches a part. What did you know and even grow to respect about your subject here?
Well, I knew a lot. I read a biography of him called One Gallant Rush, which I thought was fascinating. And this was before we started shooting, way back. As soon as I read the script, I got interested, and I read lots of letters that he wrote, and people wrote to him. He wrote to his wife, to his mother, father, sisters, and you can really hear the way somebody thinks. I mean, if somebody wanted to make a biography of me, God forbid, and you know, they wouldn't really, they wouldn't have any of that. The idea of how many letters people wrote and that they were kept is such a great thing. You can really go back in time with letters.
And we hear your voice, I presume, quoting the letters.
They're mixes of quotes and new stuff. We tried originally to do it with complete letters that were from Shaw, but we couldn't make them fit into the story as the editing process happened and scenes were omitted. The letters no longer made sense. I wish it could have been all real letters, but it's not.
And it must have been an experience rubbing shoulders with people who, in this present day, still relive the Civil War. Tell me about your involvement with the reenactors.
Yeah, well, we had a few who were in charge of making sure that things were accurate, from our clothes to the props to the military procedures. Did
you have to kind of stand inspection, as it were?
Yeah, you did. I mean, everybody was very polite about it, but everybody was trying to. It wasn't like you had to ask, you know, is this the way I should be wearing my gloves? Somebody would come and tell you. The reenactors, it's like their religion. I mean, it's like if you wear something wrong, it's as if you put a mitre, if that's what they're called, on that the Pope wears, if you put that on, you know, sideways or something. I mean, they're hysterical.
Any surprises for you about either the weaponry used, how the clothes felt on you, the formations of troops? Anything that really surprised you?
It all surprised me. I didn't know much about it. The amount of layers of wool that I wore was surprising.
Really?
Vests and thick shirts, and the fact that everybody put on a bow tie to fight is sort of
why am I laughing?
No, it is funny, but it's also kind of sad. I mean, to think of them dressing up and tying their sash so carefully and making sure the gold chain from the watch.
And to line up so densely that if somebody fired at you, somebody would be bound to go down. Did you ever talk to anybody as a person reacting, saying, why would they fight like that? Why would they invite disaster like that?
I did, and I don't know. I never was able to understand why that is the procedure, but somehow that was the most practical thing to do. That was the most effective way to fight, because if there was a better way, they would have used it.
One would think so.
I mean, I hope. I know one thing that Shelby Foote told me was that the technology of the day was leaps ahead of the tactics, that they were using tactics from wars when the weapons were different, and that suddenly people were fighting with rifles that could pick somebody off at 500 yards.
Yes.
And that's you got to rethink everything, and there was no time for that. So they were still fighting as if they had to be very close and have these not accurate muskets.
Did you have to learn how to load and reload yourself?
Well, being the colonel, I didn't have to fire a rifle.
True.
I just have a pistol, which takes a long time to load. They have to individually load each shot in the chamber, and then you would carry extra cartridges. I guess it's not called barrels. No, whatever the thing that spins
Yeah,
is called.
yeah,
Chamber,
chamber.
something. I don't know. You'd carry extra ones, and you could change those.
Might I also wonder if acting in Glory was yet another reminder to you that there's no way for an actor to keep his or her hands clean. You got to get in there.
Yeah.
Take us into a swamp, a sand dune, something where it was just really good for you.
Yeah, it was quite. I had stuff in my hair for months. Little bits of burnt black cork, which they use in the explosions, and they'd get caught in your hair, and you couldn't. None of these problems are as serious as the problems that the brave men of the 54th encountered.
Brave men, but by gosh, you volunteer them
That's true.
for that charge.
Yeah.
Now, this brings up something about the picture. Unlike maybe war films that might have been made 10, 12 years ago, there is not 1 ounce of anybody questioning why we're here in the first place. What about that? What is your feeling about a war film in which battle is accepted, nobody's questioning it, nobody's doing a revisionist history of patriotism or anything?
I think that it's a pity, to tell you the truth. I think we tried. There's a little bit of it in the scene with Tripp and me by the water there when he says, "Who am I fighting for?"
Oh, right.
There's a little thing. We had another scene between me and Carrie Elwes where Carrie panicked and started to say, "This is stupid, everybody puts on outfits." And it was, you start to have to make the thing shorter, and then people start saying, well, we need the momentum and get right to the battle, why stop and think? And that's something I regret. I wish there was more questioning because I think there was questioning in the day. There's a sad letter I read by somebody who fought there who said, if we could compromise the whole thing, if we could just compromise a little, the whole thing would be done within 10 days.
Oh, interesting.
Guy about to go into a battle.
In the minute we have left, what did you bring away from this shoot, from this experience, either in your assessment of yourself as an actor or about the events portrayed, that really is meaningful to you?
I guess the idea that people believed so strongly in something, and how much it's disappeared. The knowledge of what happened, the knowledge that blacks even fought in the Civil War is virtually unknown.
How strange that it's taken so long to show a story like this.
Yeah, and I don't know that this is going to change anything
Yeah.
either, you know. But I think it's shocking that we don't know more about it.
Matthew Broderick, Colonel Robert Gould Shaw in Glory. He and I are here in New York City. I'm John Tibbetts for KMBC.